Hey everybody, this is the Cow King from PurePandemonium.com, and today I'm on the phone with Michael Gough, world-renowned voice actor, and musician. Thanks for talking with us today, Mike.
Well, you're welcome, and thanks for the glowing intro.
I want to talk about your background a little bit. According to your website, michaelgough.com, you've worked with Disney, DreamWorks, Lexus, Pepsi, NBC, ESPN. My question to you is, who or what inspired you to become a voice actor, and how did you get into the business of voice acting?
Well, I think I may have been inspired a long time ago when I was probably sitting around in my room as a kid, watching TV and kind of mimicking things and just amusing myself by using my voice.
Right.
Um, and it wasn't anything that I ever thought, that I would do for a living,
Mm-hmm.
not even acting in general, really. I went to college. Originally, I was an English major, and I was also, kind of doing a music thing. And I was an athlete. I got this little athletic scholarship to go to college at UC Santa Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
I was a shot putter and discus thrower, actually.
Oh.
And just before I was about to graduate from college, not really knowing what I was going to do, on a whim, I thought I would. I saw these signs around the campus saying auditions for original one-act plays,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, well, that would be kind of fun to do before I'm out of school. So I tried that, and I got into one of them, and then I guess the bug kind of bit me.
Right.
And I always kind of enjoyed reading out loud and that kind of thing. But the acting thing just seemed kind of like a normal path to follow once I got a taste of it. So I stuck around in college and ended up getting a master's degree in theater. And then I came to Los Angeles and started, trying to make it as an actor. And I would get a few things here and there, little film or TV parts, but they were kind of few and far between. So I was working, doing odd jobs, and the voiceover thing was something I thought would be fun. It was something I thought maybe I could do, and actually some friends of mine who had a local radio show on weekends had asked me to do some commercials for their little local radio show. And that was fun, and they turned out pretty well, and I thought, well, this is something I'd like to look into at least. So I took a class, a voiceover class,
Uh-huh.
and that helped a lot. And I kind of learned, what was going on, and that kind of led to me getting a voiceover agent, which is something you really needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of went from there, and I started going on auditions and getting work and actually making a living. So I thought, well, this seems like where I'm going to actually be able to pay the bills and stuff, and I enjoy it. It's fun.
Yeah,
You get
it
to
does
use your
sound fun.
imagination. And,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, it's sure beats digging ditches or whatever, but
I hear you.
it's a lot of fun. The voiceover world is, like I say, you get to use your imagination a lot, and especially with like animation and video games,
Right, right.
where you get to be and play things that you would never get to in the in the quote unquote real world.
Right. Um,
So that's kind of a short, long version of how I got started.
when you're doing a job, such as, uh, working voiceover work for a video game, is that something where you just, you kind of go in and record it and then you're done, or I mean, how much of an intimate level do you get with some of your jobs?
It's usually that sometimes you get the material ahead of time, but a lot of times you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see it until you get there. Um, I mean, if it's an ongoing thing like an animated series, then you get to, kind of delve into it and experience it over a longer period of time.
Right.
If you're recording something every week.
Mm-hmm.
Video games are typically done in just kind of big chunks. If you have a lot to do, it may take a few days.
Right.
But it's pretty much all done in one shot. And a lot of times you don't really know what the rest of the game is like. Sometimes they will show you, they'll give you a sneak preview of what the game's going to look like. And of course they being the directors or the producers,
Mm-hmm.
explain to you what's going on. And some of these, the scripts for video games, I can't believe how these people come up with all this stuff. I mean, they've got these volumes that are just like 4 and 5 inches thick, just stacked.
Yeah, the amount of background information that they can come up with is unbelievable.
Yeah. And so a lot of times just speaking for myself, I don't really know everything else that's going on in the world of this game, but you're given a pretty good amount of information and direction about your specific character or characters, because sometimes you get to do more than one.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times they don't want to give you any more information than they have to.
Right.
They don't want anything to leak out.
How did you come up with the voice for Deckard Cain? I mean, obviously you had to come up with some sort of old raggedy man.
Yeah.
And as a side note, what steps do you normally take when creating a voice for a certain role?
Well, I'll just answer the first part of the question first. The Deckard Cain voice was, if I remember correctly, they sort of had a vague idea that he was kind of an old, wise character, and that he might sort of have like a Sean Connery thing about him.
Right.
Which is sort of the way if I'm remembering right, and it was a little while ago, but actually coming up with the voice didn't take too long, because I think they, like I said, pretty much, older, wise, sage, wizard kind of a character.
Right.
And this is back before anybody, it was just all new, so nobody knew anything, and maybe a hint of a Sean Connery thing. So it just sort of happened naturally. I mean, not naturally, but and then to sort of answer the second part of your question, you just kind of you have an ear for things, and you use your imagination. In this case, there was no visual, there was no picture or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you get a picture of a character ahead of time, and that sort of gives you a hint as to what it might sound like.
Okay.
Otherwise, you just kind of look at the description and play around with it in your head and with your voice, and if it requires, some kind of an accent or something, you play around with those.
Mm-hmm.
And Deckard Cain just kind of he just kind of fell into place pretty quickly, I think, as far as just the sound of his voice. Mm-hmm. His personality wasn't, that kind of evolved, and he sort of became, not that he's a comical character, but he does have a certain humor about him.
Right.
Just in the fact that sometimes he gets impatient, and he's kind of cranky sometimes, but yeah, it's and luckily it's just it's a voice that's kind of right in my wheelhouse, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
A lot of times with video games, you have to do things like if you're screaming a lot, or if there's a lot of battle or mutation or something going on, you're really taxing your voice, and you have to do it over and over and over again for many different takes.